very strong in the last team fight, so I like the fact he just banned it away instantly. Twitch again being banned away. It is really an AD carry nobody wants to deal with because at the moment he is so strong. I actually think him and Lucian together are the two strongest AD carries and nobody actually comes close.
Very targeted bans here as well. We see LeBlanc straight in towards Kerp on the other side. Overpowers what has been in the past terrifying Kale taken away. Jankos on Elise has been a big force for them. And Lulu as well taken away. A champion that both Xaxus and Overpow have played. This is interesting though because we said at game 1, Kassadin has been weakened more in this patch, but we believe that he is still extremely strong. Expected him to be a red side ban throughout the day. He gets through and it's a first pick for ROCCAT.
I think this is very risky for Millenium side because Kassadin, his Q, his shield was nerfed, the ratio went down, the base value went down, but that was it. And he's still such a strong champion. Going to the late game part, he snowballs out of control. It's what Kassadin does here, so it's a risky thing for Millenium, especially because they are a team who normally focus on the late game. That's also why we see them locking in the Jax. One of the best, if not the best, top laner when it comes to late game parts. And they're basically just trying to respond with, you have a strong late game pick, we have now a strong late game pick.
Taking the Thresh there as well for Jree in the support role. We'll see what he can bring to the table playing that Thresh. Actually, has not played masses of Thresh in the later stages of last split either. He was in a similar position to what we saw Yellow Star in, you know, early season. They were fighting over this Thresh pick, but then realized, okay, we maybe don't want it as much. It's gonna have it this time around. Now we're on to ROCCAT's second and third picks. Will we see Graves coming in again? It's definitely become a lot more popular.
I'm still not 100% sold on Graves overall as an AD carry. I think Lucian brings a lot more. I think there's certain other AD carries who can bring more. Cogmore, Bane, for instance, could bring more to the table than a Graves here. What I do like about him is in an upfront battle against the likes of a Jax, he does more damage because of his box shot, because of his ultimate hitting the first target, doing more damage. And of course with the dash away, he becomes fairly tanky. He's passive as well, gets more armor, more magic resist, so he can survive a little bit better against the likes of a Jax here. But now, Kottenx just been locked in as well. 2 people? Nope.
This is a very strong lineup without really saying much more than that. Kha'Zix's going to be locked in here. We've seen how dangerous Kottenx is on that Kha'Zix. And then Lucian for Creaton. As you mentioned, Lucian without a doubt up there in the top 2 AD carries right now. Creaton played a whole bunch of him, picked him up whenever he can get his hands on it.
So again, I actually think Millenium, looking at how the champs like win now, they said, we actually don't mind giving you Kassadin. We know there's a very high chance you will first pick it, so we take the 2 most wanted pick for us, Jax and the Thresh. Had they locked in Jax for ROCCAT as the first pick, Kassadin been locked in for Millenium then. So they actually gave away a very strong pick, got 2 in advance, and then because ROCCAT decided to go with Lee Sin and Graves here, actually opened up for Kottenx and Lucian. However, Kottenx nerfed at his patch as well. It's harder for him to find a target alone. The isolation is now up to 500 units. It was 350 before, so it's a bit harder for him to get this extra damage. And also his ultimate now, the stealth, is 2 seconds cooldown instead of only 1, which it was before between stacks.
So continuing the late game kind of premise and comps that they're going for here. Rai's going to be picked up for the top lane for Xaxus. They took Zyra here as a support. The final pick as well, we'll move straight over to that, is a Fizz in the mid lane there for Kerp up against Overpow's Kassadin.
So the old Kassadin, before the rework here, Fizz was a very strong counter against him because he could never get close to you. Now though, with the spell shield, or with the spell shield he gets from his Q, he can actually do fairly well. Still, Fizz should have full control of the lane, but Kassadin at least won't be destroyed like he used to do against the Fizz here. So we're gonna see how it goes in the mid lane. But Millenium side, everything scales into late game. ROCCAT side, Rise Kassadin goes into late game really well. Graves, decent in the late game. It's gonna be hard for him though because of the shorter range as well on Graves. Against Jax, Kottenx and Fizz, I mean, they're just gonna jump you and destroy you instantly if you just get too close at any point, and that's where Graves will have issues because of the shorter range, and therefore I give the late game heavily actually, except for how it goes with Kassadin. But I really think the late game combo from Millenium is so strong.
Well, guys, let's take a look at your votes for this match. According to the numbers over on LOLesports.com, 82% of you think that ROCCAT will take the win. Not surprising if you factor in the whole positioning and final positions of the spring split here, where ROCCAT surprised everyone, grabbed the third. Millenium were right down at the bottom, of course, in 8th position after that. But I think it's after each team has had time to practice, or not, as the case may have been. We'll have to figure that one out as we go along. But I think that this game is a lot more closer than those numbers.
I agree. I think also looking at the comps here, it can, of course, you can always say, yeah, we don't know exactly what's going to happen. A team can make a big mistake and fall far behind. But if you look at the comps here, if Millenium gets to play the way they want, safe, early mid game, get to late game with all these champions here, they can do everything on the map. You can split push with Jax in the top lane, Fizz in the bottom lane, keep the Thresh and the Lucian in the mid lane to siege a tower, or always keep the wave pushed up here. And ROCCAT, it's going to be so hard for him to duel both Jax and Fizz in the late game parts here. But of course, on the other side for ROCCAT, Ryze and Kassadin scales well into the late game as well. So it's not like they don't have anything to respond with.
Well, let's find out, shall we? There is a Q from Jankos landing perfectly onto Jree to reveal his position inside of that brush. Not exactly the biggest surprise that there were maybe some action around the red buff corner brush. Ooh, double ward.
Just for the swag.
One safer than two.
Yeah.
Just saying.
You got so many wards now, the one anyway. Might
That's
as well
true.
just waste them all. Oh, actually, one thing we didn't talk too much about. A lot of wards coming down here actually early. Full vision, no defensive wards from ROCCAT. They actually wanted to get in with some of the deeper wards. But a thing we didn't talk about, bottom lane wise, lane swaps. I mean, Zyra actually for most AD carry, or for most supports, is a little bit of a counter to Thresh. I mean, you're strong against him in the lane. However, one hook onto you and you might just die because you're very, very squishy. But the fact with 4.7, you don't have to start full trinkets anymore as a support. You can start the Spell Thief, and that's where Zyra is really strong with a poke.
And there we see Millenium moving back in there. Double ward strategy. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and call that a strategy. Is going to time out here any second. Now, ROCCAT are sat back, to be honest, so it looks like neither of these teams wanting to risk anything in the early game, because, let's be honest, it's going to be a bit of a race to see who gets to the late game thing, the late game portion as fast as possible in this one. This is very interesting though. Kottenx coming around the side. Kevin is in there as well. The stun is going to come out here. Flash already there from Xaxus, and Jankos is going to have to do exactly the same here to get out of trouble. That means that they're going to lose this blue buff. The question is, can he
actually got it?
Yeah, oh, he did get it. That's very, very true. I missed that one completely, but okay, so that's good for ROCCAT. It slows Jankos down, but it also gives a Ryze a blue buff. We'll see what he can do with it, though.
Yeah, there was a lane swap, however, so he won't actually get to use this blue buff to try and poke down the Jax in a 1v1. Very smart decision, in my opinion, for Millenium to swap up top lane, get Jax in a lane where he can just get a few levels, then he can start going toe-to-toe with Ryze. Otherwise, he's going to get poked a lot in the early levels against Ryze, especially also with the blue buff. However, it means now due to the failed invade actually from Millenium, there's only one buff over on the Kottenx side and two blue buffs for ROCCAT.
Going a little bit pear-shaped for them there. Ryze getting himself a blue buff, which, as you said, is going to help him clear out a few jungle camps quicker. Because he's not going to go straight down into, or straight up into that 1 versus 2. Of course, Creaton and Jree got the 1 versus 2 going up on the top side of the map. Kevin, of course, doing exactly the same here with his jungler. Kottenx just trying to get as much XP early on in the game as they possibly can. Mid lane, I just want to touch on that one here. Both of them starting off with that Crystalline Flask. Very interested to see how the new Kassadin is going to do against Fizz.
I mean, Kerp, as we talked about in Champs, like, he will have control of the lane, and he just want to farm up. He wants to get to the late game when the Fizz is so strong. I mean, you can one-shot an AD carry so easily. You can split push with Fizz late game. You become very hard to deal with. And also due to the lane swaps here, we need to see if ROCCAT still want to send people to try and gank and shut down Kerp in the mid lane, or to just leave them to one-on-one. Millenium, they seem to be moving 2 members in the top side of ROCCAT's jungle, and ROCCAT actually responding by moving down towards the bottom lane. So no ganks towards the mid lane here in the start. Could actually have been an easy gank, because Kerp's lane is pushing heavily towards Overpow.
Interestingly enough as well, they're considering that so many trinkets available on ROCCAT side. They've really got none of them on cooldown and therefore wards on the map right now. They're quite happy to sit with men there, and they are actually going to go in for Overpow. Very, very risky. We see the teleport from Xaxus actually coming in, and that will put Millenium completely off the scent of diving for Overpow.
Yeah, so Millenium actually get the teleport away from Xaxus without any risk of them dying, because they could just back away instantly as it spawned. They knew the rest of the members from ROCCAT were down the bottom lane pushing the tower. So actually a very good move, and they don't need to send them up top lane. They don't need to send Kevin or Kottenx up to top lane to push the tower, because they can do it by themselves. They need to go back and defend the second tower though, because Millenium or ROCCAT, they're pushing towards it.
This is where a mistake could be made. Jree and Creaton hammering away on that top outer turret, which is down to less than half HP. Xaxus continues to sit here in the mid lane with Overpow. Well, that bottom lane still has 3 men pushing in. Finally, Kottenx will start to move around. Kevin already in position, but a lot of damage coming in there. The plant and the buckshot coming out of Celaver, causing a couple of little issues there for Millenium trying to hold on to it. It's already lost half of its health. Not a good sign here for Millenium if this continues. And finally, Jree does come down from the base. That should force ROCCAT to back off.
Should force them away here. So Millenium respond well enough. Creaton up in the top lane should be able to take the tower, unless we see some quick rotations up from ROCCAT. I would actually like to see Xaxus, instead of staying in the mid lane and splitting XP and getting some tower damage here, I actually like to see him move up to the top lane, because ROCCAT, they would know if Jree doesn't go back to defend, the 3 members from ROCCAT can actually take the tower, and if Jree then recalls to defend, it's only 1 member up in the top lane, so Xaxus alone could actually hold the tower 1v1 against Lucian, because he's already level, I believe he's level 3 at the point, so he should be able to hold the tower. I actually like him to move up there, simply just to say, Millenium, if you move a member back to defend this tower, you won't kill this one, because I'm here to defend it now against against a single member. Instead, though, he's been in the mid lane, laning with Overpow actually, sharing XP and now pushing onto the tower, getting quite some damage. However, Millenium should be able to react, unless ROCCAT now moves instantly from the bottom lane into the mid lane with 5 members and just straight up takes the tower.
And leaves an early dragon pickup as well for them. Very, very possible with 3 men in bottom, 2 men in that mid lane as well. Your AD carry is not going to get there fast enough from the top side to even think about that one. Just a quick update here. VandeR is just having a quick client restart, so hopefully that will be all fixed up here in just a second, and he can get himself back into the game so we can continue this one. But early on, very, very interesting. A lot more about the map than it is about focusing certain lanes down in terms of kills. Again,
we had the invade onto the blue buff. Millenium moved in with both Kevin and Kottenx to try and stop the blue buff. Actually ended up going over to Xaxus, so there was no blue buff from Kottenx. Ideal situation, of course. They want to go in and stop them from doing it, force them away, and they could take it for Kottenx. Then he could take the red buff and get double buff, and also share the XP with Kevin, so you can get some levels. Didn't get the blue buff, which meant 3 buffs over on the side of ROCCAT, and then both teams were, of course, lane swapped. Jankos went down bottom lane, took the tower, pushed it up towards the second tower, and that's where, of course, ROCCAT now needs to decide, do we want to go to defend the tower, do we want to go hard on the mid tower, or do we just want to back off? If they just everyone recalls, I feel like it's a wrong decision, because they actually have the pressure on the map, and they should force something away from Millenium here. Should force them to decide between getting a tower or losing a second tower, or at least something. I mean, losing the dragon then. There's multiple options for them at the moment.
Well, guys, if you're just joining us, don't forget we are in a super week here in week 1 of the summer split. 16 games overall, 1 down, not even half of one. We're about 5.5 minutes into this one, so can't really call that a half at this point. Still so many games to go. And I want to talk a little bit about fantasy here, because the Banana Kings are in fact playing the Danish Dynamite today.
In our Office League, not in the Caster League.
That's it, we've got 2 because, well, I actually got good picks in both of them, so I'm quite happy with both.
I don't really agree.
We'll see by the end of today whether the Danish Dynamite go down to the Banana Kings, I think.
So the only issue about my name, especially in the Caster League, is I don't actually have any Danish players. So it's a bit of a with the name. Luckily, I managed to pick up Mr. Rales in the other league, and I'm looking forward to see what he can bring later in the day.
Going to be a very, very interesting season.
Let me just ask, what Fnatic players do you have?
I actually only have Reckless, who was 4-0 in that last game, so not all that bad.
I had Sana, though. Sana did pretty well.
Okay.
It's not too bad.
Okay, we'll see about that. Still a long way to go, as we said, here in week 1. Being a super week and all, we've got another 14 games to go after this one. Just another quick update. VandeR seems to be on his way back into the game, so ROCCAT against Millenium will be getting back underway in just a sec.
We can just quickly talk about 4.7. What we've seen so far in these 2 games. Level 1s. A lot of wards being put down, a lot of vision, hard to late invade. That's also one of the reasons Millenium's late invade here failed. ROCCAT managed to get the blue buff fast enough. We didn't see any fights yet, not even in the last game. And then when it came to lane swaps, it's been the same deal. Sending 4 members to just straight up push a tower, people don't do it anymore. It's very rare. You can still do it. It's just a lot harder because it takes a lot more time to kill the towers. They take 30 less damage for the first 7 minutes. So it's very hard to kill them. And that's why we see these more slow lane swaps instead.
So here we go then, back into game. Hopefully everything sorted out here for VandeR, and we can get this one back underway. So here's what we were trying to keep track of before. What is the move from ROCCAT going to be? They had 3 men there, and I talked about the easy dragon. That's what they're going for.
Yeah. Millenium actually tried to respond in case there would have been 5 members pushing the mid lane, because Jree moved straight in there from the bottom lane to defend it, and Xaxus actually went up to the top lane here. It's about the dragon for now. Jankos getting fairly low. Jree's there to try and stop it.
Doing a good amount of damage here. Jankos actually falling real low. Teleport coming in as well. Jankos having to safeguard over. But here comes Kerp. He's level 6. He's got the ulti out. And Earth comes flying through for first blood for Millenium and the dragon.
Such a smart play by Jree. He put down the lantern so Jax could teleport to it. Join in for the fight here. Got some damage on Jankos, who was tanking the dragon the entire time. Kerp picked up the first blood. Nothing better than when your assassin in the mid lane gets the first blood here. Xaxus, he was up in the top lane. Teleport was gone because he used it in the mid lane. It means, however, he can at least defend the tower. So ROCCAT did some of it. Some of the things we talked about here actually really backfired for them going towards the dragon. I still feel like they should have gone mid lane with 5 members, have been a lot more safe.
Yeah, by easy dragon, I mean they're actually going to end up getting first blooded and losing the dragon. Of course, is what really happened by the end of that one. There's Overpow. He's, of course, level 6 now as well, so got the safety of that rift walk in there as Kottenx and Jree both came around to this mid lane just to make sure that there wasn't too much funny business going to happen. If you look at first item there coming out from Kerp, we'll touch on this top tower in just a second because that may go down here. Creaton pushing very, very far on through. The turret is surely going to fall, but Xaxus now going to step forward here. Creaton knows that he's in big trouble. He's going to go towards Xaxus. There's a lot of damage coming out. There's the lance. Oh, Jankos followed him through. The Hulk comes in as well, and Jankos goes down to the Cologne.
Wow.
Missed time follow through there on the Q. Creaton picking it exactly the right time, and Millenium again getting themselves a second kill, which looked like it wasn't going to go their way.
Millenium are just getting the kill. You just said it. I mean, the lanterns from Jree twice now been MVP. First one so they could teleport. Second one now so he follows up. Look here, lantern being clicked. Jankos already second activated his Q, follows him, and then Jree just lands an easy hook. Another kill for Millenium, and so far they're responding pretty well here. And ROCCAT been doing some of the wrong decisions. Xaxus should have been top lane earlier to defend so the tower wasn't so low. So this situation would actually never have happened.
That timing.
The lanterns, man, Jree.
Exactly. We talked about his Zillion earlier, but so far his thresh has been pretty damn impressive. Team here just wandering up towards the dragon area. Got themselves a big wall up down there as Kottenx went quite low there to his own red buff. Won't actually end up causing him too many problems, though he'll recall straight after that. And the first blue buff's been given over to the mid lane.
And also, Jankos is level 4, level 5 onto Kottenx here. He's been farming the entire time because he never actually had to go anywhere except for bot lane once to defend the second tower. He never had to go push somewhere. He just been farming together with Kevin down the bottom lane and then also in the jungle. Jankos, he was with the team in the bottom lane to try and push up there. Then he went for the dragon. It backfired. He's now actually very far behind, and he's already going to get outscaled really hard against the Kha'Zix because he's Lee Sin.
Keep a little bit of an eye on this mid lane. Overpow, despite having that bit of pressure onto him earlier on, he's now up past level 6, as I mentioned earlier on. Got himself that catalyst boots and picking himself up quite a collection of wards as well to make sure that he's not going to be pushed down too early. And there is the blue buff going over to him as well for that mid lane. Kerp, of course, already got his just a little bit earlier on. So that lane going well so far here for Overpow.
Yeah, farming pretty well. again, casted in after the changes. He became better in the laning phase against mages because of the spell shield onto him with his Q here. So he's been using it pretty well to farm. Both solo laners though, for ROCCAT side. I mean, both dual lanes here. Side lanes, it's very hard. Both side lanes are actually pushing toward, or Millenium are freezing them at the moment. So ROCCAT, the only way they can respond is just go 5 members to the mid lane and try something.
Oh, gonna go flying through, but actually no follow-up there from Millenium. They just wanted to get him away from that turret. A 4-man push would have been pretty hard to deal with, especially with Fizz, Xaxus, and Thresh in there, who no, they do have the wave cleave. They want to dive straight on top of the wave itself, which is never really what you want to be doing in that scenario, especially when the likes of Zyra is there to really lock you up. They're actually going to have another attempt on a push here onto his mid lane.
Their ultimate from Kerp is gone here, so they should at least be able to get some damage onto it. Kerp gone very aggressive though.
On that one, actually doing good damage. They managed to find VandeR through the middle. Kottenx dives in there, but they're going to finish him off. Kevin now coming in from the side. That's a killer piece here. And Overpow chases over through to Jree. Not quite got the damage yet to finish that one off. It's 1 for 1.
So down the bottom lane, Kevin had pushed the wave all the way into Xaxus here, and then he just rotated to the mid lane, and that's why they went for this very aggressive engage. However, ROCCAT is staying here, and now they might be caught out again.
Overpow, the one that got stunned up there by the counter-strike, but he's gone deep and they get the kill onto Kerp. Overpow in trouble though. The safeguard comes around. Will he get away from it? Kevin trying to chase, but the Rift Walk coming up just in time for him to escape. That was a risky play, but one that pays off in the end for ROCCAT.
They got a kill, didn't get the tower, however, so Millenium managed to defend so far. Creaton is now in his mid lane. Top lane is going to push heavily in favor of Millenium, so that's going to be a big wave building up. That's why he can go in here to try and defend and hold this very important tower from Millenium. We also saw how risky it is for Millenium to actually wave. Because you talked about how Fizz needs to jump into the minion wave, and whenever he's too close, ROCCAT will just go for him, get a lot of damage onto him.
Kill gives Overpow the first one of his game, moving up towards that Rod of Ages. Now got the blasting one on top of that Catalyst from earlier. If we look at Xaxus, who's been relatively quiet here, it's definitely awarding that brush, VandeR, just saying. Got his tier first of all, and also got himself that Catalyst now. There's some pretty standard stuff there for the Rise. The worrying factor is though how far he is behind Jax on that front. A kill in there for Kevin, plus the CS lead, as now they're going to try and shut down Xaxus. Kerp that goes diving in, the fish will knock him up, and you see the damage already. Yeah. No return whatsoever from Xaxus with the tier Catalyst start.
There's no combat stats on the Rise here. He still needs to build up his Rod of Ages. He's going to be late. His tier is going to be hard for him to stack it up in time here, so he's going to get delayed a lot going towards his power spike in the late game, as Millenium doing a very good job trying to shut him down. And you notice how, with Kevin, they kept him just to farm a lane. They didn't actually rotate him around. Now Kerp going very aggressive in the mid lane here. VandeR got away with the flash.
Yeah, flashing away from that one, and Millenium here trying to take advantage of this positioning, trying to get themselves in for the second dragon of the game. Of course, the first one was really nicely timed for them. Really a good job by Jree overall getting himself in there. We are going to see Millenium take that one. Jankos is in there, but he's going to get blown up. Kevin will also flash away from the ultimate of VandeR there as well. And now Xaxus is trapped inside the pit. Some good damage to Kottenx. He will ulti himself and get away from it. Xaxus did flash out there, so in the end they do manage to escape, but they still lost that one man.
They lost the one man, they lost the dragon, they lost the teleport, they lost the flash as well on Xaxus here. A lot of things invested in trying to steal a dragon, which didn't work for them. Millenium now can respond, get some damage onto the tower here. Will be forced to back away, however. But again, for ROCCAT, their decision-making for them is a bit weird, because they always end up just investing too much into something and don't actually punish Millenium for anything.
Some 4,000 gold lead here as well. We're going to take another look down by the dragon here. And again, going over to them, Creaton got the kill onto Jankos. And look at Kottenx, his timing on his ultimate here. Had nothing left.
Remember, 4.7 the ultimate, now it's 2 seconds between the times you can actually go stealth. Almost cost him his life here, he just spammed the ulti button to get stealth again and get away from here. Otherwise he would have died, still would have been worth it because they picked up the dragon as well.
So, base check, no, not quite, both players putting down the ward there in towards that tri-bush. I want to just touch on items here briefly as well, because the mid laners in particular have got their first ones in. Rod of Ages, of course, for Overpow. On the other side, the Lich Bane first pickup for Kerp. So, you know, with the changes to that Lich Bane, there was quite a lot of talk about how strong Fizz still can be. He's obviously still strong enough in the right hands.
Still doing a lot of damage. I wouldn't say I'm surprised about the first item Lich Bane here. Most Fizz normally actually go Sheen and then build an Hourglass and then they complete the Lich Bane here, because remember, it now scales off your base attack damage, and at the same time you need more AP to make up for the same, because your AP ratio has been nerfed on the Lich Bane. So as a starting item, it's not as good as it was before. However, it's working for him now, and because you pick up the 2 kills, you get it fairly early and still do a lot of damage. And also his attack damage, because he got some levels, is actually high enough to make the base Lich Bane damage better than the old Lich Bane, because you need 67 attack damage, nerdy stuff, for it to be the same as the last old Lich Bane. Now he has like 83 or something. There you go, Joe.
Well, that's why we've got you for the nerdy stuff, Deficio. This could be bad news for ROCCAT. Celaver's going to face check straight into Kottenx, but, well, Tower's still up there behind him, and he will just dash off back towards it. Didn't really lose too much. Meanwhile, Creaton pushing his mid lane against both Lee Sin and Kassadin. That could be fairly dangerous for him, but we do see him get away to that tower. Still had Flash, still had Summon and Heal available as well in case things got really bad for him.
And Overpow with the Rod of Ages, and wow, Kerp going very aggressive again.
Yeah, Xaxus is probably going to go down from this one. Ignite is ticking away, and Kerp picks up kill number 3. We said it before, no combat stats whatsoever here for Xaxus. Had no flash available to him at that time. That's a pretty easy pickup for Kerp.
And he's pretty much out of the game for the next 20-25 minutes, because he has 700 gold at the moment, so he won't be able to complete the Rod of Ages. Every time he tries to farm and stack up his tier, Kerp just comes in, forces him away, either kills him or just completely zones him away from the minions. So he's so far behind, his core items are so delayed. Only Overpow in the mid lane here with the fairly early Rod of Ages can actually scale now into the mid late game. Rise is just delayed so much.
Is he going to go to farm after this one? That top lane has already been his grave, so to speak, twice in a row now, both times to Kerp. The last thing you want is Kerp getting going. He has Sorcerer Shoes now added in for him on top of that Lich Bane that we talked about early on. This mid turret, though, tantalizingly low for ROCCAT. That will become a target for them, I'd imagine, in the pretty near future. Creaton up until now has been the man to really defend from that one. Jree has picked himself up mobility boots in there as well, so he's nicely speeding around the map, getting that vision control strong for Millenium.
Mobility boots is so great when you play these split pushing comps, because you can move from the mid lane to either top or to bot lane in case something happens. You can join in for the fight, you can lantern someone out. We saw it earlier without the mobility boots, but still the lantern was there because he moved from the mid lane to save Creaton and also picked up a kill onto Jankos. It's a very smart pickup by Jree. And in general, the 1-3-1 split push, we mentioned it all the way back to level 1, how Millenium wants to play the mid late game. They don't even have to wait for the late game because of all the objective gold, because of this great start they had. They can already do it now, and that's why Kerp has been able to pick up these kills onto the Rise, who's so weak at the moment.
Having free reign of it as well. One thing that, admittedly, I just noticed ROCCAT actually running with Ignite Flash on their support, no exhaust on their side, whereas Jree running that exhaust for later. So, you know, Overpow dives into you, throw the exhaust on him, kill him down before he can do anything.
It's actually a very, very good point. No exhaust against Fizz and Jax and even the Kha'Zix. It's very, very scary. Whoever comes onto your carry will be able to kill the person by himself. There's no help from VandeR. Yes, he can try and disengage with his ultimate, but that's about it. And there's so much mobility on the side of Millenium. They should be able to avoid the Zyro ultimate. Fizz can just jump around it. Kha'Zix, of course, can jump. Jax as well.
Millenium made the choice here to put some pressure onto the bottom turret. ROCCAT, will they try and hold on to it? Jankos is waiting off to the side. Mid lane is being pushed out completely by Creaton, and Kerp is in the top lane there, where Xaxus is probably still quaking in his boots at the thought of the fish being thrown onto him once again.
I would actually like to see Millenium do this push just in the mid lane. Leave Jax to one-on-one down the bottom lane. He will be so strong. Creaton in a lot of trouble here. Never mind.
Uses his flash. Actually, the Q from Lee Sin, I think, was the signal. Okay, if that lands, then I'm probably dead anyway. Got himself away. That now will leave Millenium in position with Dragon just spawning in. They've gone over a ward there, though, so ROCCAT know that Millenium are moving in. Millenium know that ROCCAT know it now with that ward being put down on the backside as well. The fact is there's no Rise there, but there's also no Fizz there at the minute. Xaxus does have himself a teleport, which, of course, Fizz can cancel out there if he uses the timings right.
Actually, one of the other reasons I wanted Millenium to pressure the mid lane with multiple members, keep Jax bottom lane to split push, keep Kerp up here against the Rise, because then when you push down the mid lane, with the lack of wave clear on a Kassadin, it's easy for them to come all the way down towards the tower, and then they can give away the dragon if they want to, and just rotate to the top lane, dive Xaxus. There's nothing he can do to dive onto him, take the tower, and push further in. Creaton though, will he be in trouble this time?
A lot of damage coming in, Kottenx coming around, Jankos having to actually kick him away, the Cologne comes out, Creaton now on a killing spree, and that will signal the dragon push with the jungler going down. Fizz actually waiting off to the side of Kassadin. Meanwhile, Kevin just jumping away from the ultimate there of VandeR. Not really a problem. This is a dragon going over to Millenium before ROCCAT could even think about going to have a look.
And it's really been the story in this game. Every single time Jankos, he tries to make a gank, tries to kill someone, it completely backfires. Millenium just turn it around, kill him instantly. He's died 4 times already here. He's not been able to do anything in this game. Kerp now being chased by Overpow.
Overpow actually going to go all in on this one. There's the ultimate coming out of Kerp. Overpow going to try and dive in there for him with Xaxus as well. Can he get over the wall? He does get over the wall, but Overpow will be able to chase him in just a second. Kerp going low. There's a ward inside the brush. Kerp tried to turn around to do some damage, but they just blew him up. That's a kill, the second kill even of the game for Overpow.
What ROCCAT needs here, Overpow has to go completely crazy this game on Kassadin. Like, he needs to pick up all the kills. Celaver has been doing a fairly good job trying to at least hold this tower, but he's falling behind in CS. He's not being able to have any impact on the map because Kevin just forced him to stay down bot here to defend all the time. So he's out. He's pretty much out of the game now. It's all about Overpow, who needs to carry this Kassadin because they're so far behind. Millenium, as long as they keep up the pressure in the side lanes, as long as they can win the fights in the side lanes, they don't have to care though about Overpow. They just need to be careful they don't overextend. Don't let him just move from the mid lane without responding with at least taking the mid tower in return. As long as they don't do that again, it's a bit too overextended by Kerp here before. As long as they don't do it again, they should have control of it.
Worrying for ROCCAT there as well, the fact that Kevin spent so much time in that 1 versus 2 down bottom and still is only 20 CS behind that of Celaver on Graves. That is a Jax that is definitely rolling at this point with the Blade of the Ruin King. Got himself a Phage now as well, touching 160 CS. And Millenium starting to close in here throughout that ROCCAT jungle. They do find Jankos. Not going to follow through though, wisely I think.
Smart enough though, but they are now pushing down the mid lane. The tower is very low, so this is exactly what we wanted them to do, to get a lot of damage on it. And what also they did here, they actually took Kevin, moved him towards the top side of the map, because now him and then, let's say Kottenx or let's say Creaton can actually 2-man the Baron. Potentially 2-man it. And that's why they want to keep him in the top side, even though he has teleport. Normally you would think, why don't you move him bottom lane, force 2 members in the bottom lane, then he teleports up to the Baron. However, they want him to be around his Baron so he can try and go and take it. Just him and one other member from Millenium.
They've lost his bottom turret without a question. There are 3 men down there for Millenium. ROCCAT gonna look for the answer here by finally finishing off their second turret of the game, this outer turret in the mid lane, which has been low for what feels like 10-15 minutes by now. But look at Millenium, they're going to keep going. There's a 5-man push in the box.
ROCCAT has to recall. They need to recall here. They're going to lose this space race so easily. Millenium were already far ahead, also with the teleport. They're going to take another tower.
And that turret is going down. Last 2 recalls coming in here, but the inhibitor turret is already gone. Millenium decide, okay, we're going to back away from this one. No mistakes, no staying around for too long and going for the inhibitor as well. Happy with what they got.
Of course, got 2 towers here. Inhibitor is now open, so you can take your split pusher, being it Fizz or being the Jax, and now keep them in this lane here. If they kill that counterpart 1v1, they have a straight, easy way all the way down to the inhibitor, and then they force multiple members from ROCCAT to recall and defend it. Otherwise, it's gonna pretty much drop dead so easily to Millenium.
So let's have a look at some items here again. Kevin, he's well and truly on the way towards that Trinity Force. Got the Sheen now on top of his face. There's a Hex Drinker in there for Kottenx. The Needlessly Large Rod was added a little while ago for Kerp, so he's got plenty of damage behind him. On the other side, of course, Rod of Ages was done for Xaxus. Also, now got himself that extra blasty wand as well. For his mid laner, Overpow, he's added in the Void Staff on top of his Rod of Ages and the Sorcerer's Shoes from earlier on. Both AD carries also on their second item by now. Last Whisper was first for Celaver. On the other side, the Trinity Force, of course, we mentioned earlier for Creaton. Also got a pickaxe for his last Whisper coming up next. So that's going to be certainly very interesting. Look at the positioning here. Millenium closing ROCCAT in completely.
Just doing the same thing. Split push with Jax, split push with the Fist. Keep the Jax around the Baron area so you can go over there and take it fast in case something happens. And also nobody at this point from ROCCAT can do anything against Kerp in his bottom lane. So if someone moves down there, try to defend, they will die, and he can just go straight into the base of ROCCAT. So it's big issues for them. I just looked at Ryze here. He still needs 250 mana on his tier before it's fully stacked. And also his Rod of Ages is only halfway.
Oh, VandeR, I'm afraid you're not getting away from that one. They do get 2 knockups there with the ultimate out of Zyra, but what are they going to do? They can't follow through against 4 members, and that means that Fizz is going to get free reign on the bottom lane, and that was a decision that ROCCAT obviously needed to make. Do they fight there or do they back off? They kind of did half-half with losing a man and then sending 2 men down to help. Kerp knows that he can't now continue to push through, but that maybe opens up options on the top side in the middle of the map.
Millenium should have baited out the Baron. As soon as they got the pick onto VandeR, should have went straight into the Baron area, clear all the vision, and then force ROCCAT to move the the 3 remaining members, with of course Overpow being down his bottom lane to defend the 3 remaining members to try and stop them and just re-engage onto them. Instead they actually backed away, just slowly pushes some of the lanes, didn't get too much from the pick here.
Oh, Jankos actually coming on towards Kevin. Really, that's a fight you want? Not particularly. Xaxus was there in that one. And look at that for a statistic. 2.1 Dragons average per game in the spring split. Already 3 in this opening game of the season for Millenium. Definite improvement, but of course, over a lot more games. Wow. Overpow here. Gonna go down. Kerp throwing everything at him. Ignite it will be that finishes things off. That's some damage onto the inhib. Actually, Kottenx and the rest of Millenium starting to move in. This could be the inhib.
He flash Q'd and used his fish, so there was no reaction time for Overpow. It was just instantly in his face. He couldn't jump around it. That's also why his flash was delayed. The fish was already on him. Beautiful play by Kerp.
And the inhib will go down here, especially with Creaton now getting into range of that one, and Millenium simply backing away from it once again. Look at the gold here. Over 10,000 gold. Millenium's lead stands with 6-2 in towers. We're only 26 minutes into this game as Kerp starts to go for the red buff, but it's the dragon that they want, and that statistic of an average of 2.1 a game from the spring split gonna be busted wide open in this one. 4 already.
But honestly, Joe, if you give her insane late game comp, everything they want early game, you give them objectives, you make sure they can farm up, you just make sure you give yourself no chance, because instantly the power spike of the Jax, of the Fist, they hit them so early in the game, nobody can handle or do anything against them in 1v1s. And then Creaton, meanwhile, he's 4-0. It's not even him who's been the highlight of the game, yet he has 4 kills. He's just been farming in the mid lane and always been at the right time, at the right moment to pick up a kill.
I find that Champion Select was somewhat curious in this one. Kottenx on Kha'Zix. Were they thinking, okay, the changes to Kha'Zix means that Kottenx is not going to play Kha'Zix? Because on Kha'Zix, it's been absolutely amazing. Throughout these last games, that was left open from Kevin in the promotion game against NIP was Jax and Ryze the entire time through, and we see, except that obviously he played the Irelia in the last game there as well, but you know, the fact is that Jax himself, incredibly strong pick that will fit into the kind of style that Millenium really want to play for, and you have to wonder if ROCCAT have made a misstep that early on in this game before it even got started.
Should definitely have been a ban, but actually I think ROCCAT wanted to first pick the Jax. Didn't expect Kassadin to go through the pick and ban phase. When the Kassadin was open, they felt like they had to lock it in, and therefore gave the Jax over to Millenium. It was just generally smart play by Millenium in the pick and ban phase. They took a chance, and it worked for them because they got the Jax pick. Xaxus in the playoffs, he played Jax against Gambit. It did work so well for him. This time around, because Kassadin was open, they decided to first pick it instead.
Oh, there is the fish coming out once again. Kerp gonna get Jankos low. Here comes the teleport as well. Kevin gonna get involved in this, but ROCCAT already moving away from things, and we can see how much pressure they're under. Super minions are already coming in towards this bottom lane. That's gonna have to be forced back away by ROCCAT, and in the meantime, Millenium are pushing in towards the top lane inhibitor turret. Finally forced away though as Overpow comes over the wall.
But look how aggressive Kerp is. He picked up the Outlast, so he knows he can go in. He knows there's backup from the teleport from Kevin in case something goes wrong. And he just want to find the pick, because if he kills the target again, it just opens up either the Baron, straight into the inhibitor for Millenium. They just need one more kill to open up everything.
Kevin there just spotted by Jankos as he comes flying through for a wolf camp. And if we look at the jungle items, there's a bit of a difference there. That's for sure. Little bit of a difference. Actually, they're going in again towards Jankos. The hook going through. Actually was aimed at Overpow. He makes a good rift walk over the back wall. The Cologne coming through. Doesn't connect to Overpow. Kottenx was trying to jump in there and finish off that kill, but that just shows you these hooks from Jree being so good. Jankos, of course, did go down in that. That's another in him. And actually, the super minion there banging away on the Nexus turret.
They got the one kill they needed, also very nice hook by Jree, forcing Overpow completely away from the fight. And it's all they needed to push in, get second inhibitor down. Baron could be the target, but they don't actually need the Baron. They can just continue to do what they do now. Find a target out of position, get the kill, get the last inhibitor, and then finish the game. Seems like they're going towards the Baron. Still 3 seconds on Jankos here, so he won't be able to join in. And it seems like the rest of ROCCAT are too far away and won't even one clip. So free Baron for Millenium.
Well, turn 3 worked out there, I think you can more say. For Millenium after picking up that kill. And let's be honest, it's 54,000 to 39,000 gold as well. You can't really be challenging for too much when you're that far behind things. I actually see Xaxus there. Finally got himself up to that Xerefs. Overpow. Also, they're just trying to get as much farm as they can out of this one, knowing that they have to push out these lanes as far as possible to try and drag this game out to a point where Rise is going to be a factor, because up until now, sorry for Xaxus, but he really hasn't been.
Nope, not at all. And just ROCCAT as a team in this game. I know we've talked about it, but the early game decisions were just awful. I mean, again, think back to the Dragon they started where the first blood came in from Millenium and the Dragon. Xaxus had used the teleport to defend mid lane. Then he walked all the way to top lane. I'll wait for this because Kerp's going in.
There's the fish coming out. Overpow going to try and escape him, but, well, you can't escape the fish.
The flash fish again.
5-2-1. I mean, you don't escape that.
It's instantly on you because he flashes in with the Q and then with the fish. He just activates it just before he flashes, so it actually comes with him straight after the flash. So hard to react to it. And it's just been, Kerp has been fantastic this game. The two members we talked about who needed to really be more consistent and step up the game for Millenium to go in here and be a very strong team, Creaton and Kerp, both of them have been playing fantastic.
And the push is already coming in. We see that inhibitor again in the bottom lane going down. That's 2 of them now open. This could very well be the final push here for Millenium. First Nexus story going down. Xaxus going to get jumped on. He'll be finished off in the end by Kevin, who also got the Nexus story on his way out. And that means the third and final inhibitor is going to be focused here. Millenium actually a little bit low from that one. I'm going to wait for the minion wave to actually come through. But 35 seconds here until Xaxus comes back up. Overpow has now finally respawned in after dying to Kerp a little bit earlier on. I think that's the first ultimate that we've actually seen missing in this game so far. VandeR gets caught out. Creaton just nukes him down and goes unstoppable at 5-0. And this is going to be the game. The first win of the season for Millenium. Very, very strong performance to take down ROCCAT.
Very, very strong by Millenium. They did so well in this game. Every time ROCCAT made a mistake, Millenium was there to punish them, pick up the kills, pick up the gold, and then with this, with Jankos split push, with the early kills, with the early gold they got, they could just go into the 1-3-1 split push so fast, and ROCCAT could do absolutely nothing to respond.
Brilliant, brilliant performance from Millenium. A performance that honestly, well, I think you guys at home as well, we looked at the vote, 82% I believe it was coming into this one. A massive, massive number of you favoriting ROCCAT for this, and at least it was, whilst I didn't agree with the number, it was still hard to disagree with ROCCAT being the favorites on paper to win this game.